Okay, here we are. Shiny Team. So, Shiny Team's a leadership training through simple problem solving game built so that distributed or remote teams can learn about their leadership archetypes and learn kind of how to balance their leadership style. So, I used the structured observation of learning objectives taxonomy to kind of classify all of my performance objectives because it seemed kind of like better suited for these larger combinations of complex learning structures. And so we're going to do a quick walkthrough of the game. I'm going to talk about some of the game's features, some that are in there and some that are intended to be in there. And we'll kind of walk through those performance objectives and learning structures as we go along. The first thing you're going to notice here is that one, there isn't a ton here, but I started thinking about different ways that would speed up the building process. For instance, I started with kind of custom seeded worlds. I found maps that online that you can look through that will show you exactly what these giant preconceived like seed codes give you when you generate a brand new world. Those were pretty cool, but again, limited kind of capability in customizing them. Although if you need a big open world really fast, it's really cool. So what I ended up using was I messed around with the kind of custom setups for super flats, and that kind of gave me quite a few ideas for fairly easy problems to create inside of Minecraft um, that would be kind of quick to produce. I could produce like multiple different problems all fairly quickly, which kind of brings us to our first slide here. So people kind of land in this world, they see that big sign across the way, and what they'll need to do for this level is begin building a bridge, which they'll do over this chasm here, but we'll talk about that in a moment. They'll begin to solve this problem. I attempted to get some displays here. I really didn't like how these showed up. They only show from one side, so I decided I wasn't going to use those. And so figured that probably the best thing to do would be create a wall here, which would have some sort of introduction to what's going on and some basic statement about, hey, here's the problem that you and your team need to solve. And at this point, we would probably introduce some really rudimentary understanding of 8 leadership archetypes. And this whole thing is intended to be run by a moderator, and that moderator can either be human or an AI. Originally, I built this in Rec Room because they had just added new features that make it easier to integrate AI, but it is possible to do in Minecraft as well. So at this point, teams would either be asked by the moderator, hey, what leadership archetype do you identify with? Or we could even kind of capture data like, say, the field of view lingers on one particular sign that might indicate, hey, this person kind of thinks this particular archetype is interesting. It may not be exact as we would like it to be, but certainly a possibility. So at this stage, learners are one, using these kind of pre-structural ideas of basic problem solving, and they have these kind of rudimentary ideas about leadership archetypes and hopefully like what kind of style do they think they fall in. Even if it's really basic, that's really all we need at this juncture. So here, the teams would then begin with their problem. And in this scenario, I used a super flat setup to create this kind of chasm here. right? And learners will, in a very free form way, begin to kind of discuss, execute, reformulate, communicate plans, all the basic processes that you would kind of need to solve any problem in the real world or here. Worth mentioning here was the use of fill commands to create this chasm. The superflat starts off one giant sheet, and then I used fill commands to create this large chasm. So both of those can really kind of be combined to easily create new worlds, like using these seed starters, the kind of initial layout of these layers, and fill patterns would be able to kind of create different things. Like another idea would be a series of caverns using like redstone and different pressure plates to open doors and that kind of thing. So another thing is that this world has different constraints that will kind of force teamwork, right? So one of the simple ones that I was able to build in is, for example, you can see this top layer is only 2 blocks deep, meaning if you dig too deep to gather materials, you're going to fall straight through. So one problem, not immediately apparent, but teams will hopefully run into it and figure out how to communicate that to others so that they can kind of progress and solve the problem. But there's all types of different constraints I would build in here. Um, Things like, look, maybe only one person can use the tool and only one person can carry materials, but setting up different roles, would be one way of kind of constraining what learners can and can't do in the game, and force them to kind of work together to solve the problem. So once the learners have kind of completed their bridge, I didn't do one for them, but once they complete their bridge, then we kind of move on to where the learning actually occurs. The whole time, the AI moderator or human moderator is kind of observing, and if need be, they're adding in hints, which will be designed by this kind of leadership archetype rubric that we'll use to evaluate students, right? So, in this next phase is where the learning constructs get a little more advanced. And students will start generalizing and categorizing habits that they may have seen during the activity and questioning, like, what did I think about my leadership style before? And then what did this report that the moderator or the AI will give to the group? And there are a variety of different ways that this could occur, kind of depending on whatever technical capabilities we need to apply here. Certainly with the moderator right in the moment, if possible. Another thing might be like some of these, get some of these guys and have them be like little AI moderators that kind of follow you around, which I think is possible to do. Or really, even to keep it basic, take the transcript from the game, run it through a GPT, and email a report and have a post session, something like that. In any case, this is where the conversation starts to get a little bit deeper. And these learners will be kind of comparing these styles of leadership, assigning different opinions to different manifestations of those styles, kind of assigning that to real life workplace environments, where the final question and final goal is, what do these folks need to do to balance out their leadership skills or improve a deficient area? And that can continue into the next level or something like that, or function as like a starting point for any manner of leadership based activities. So, this has been a little walkthrough on Shiny Team and excited to keep going. Cheers.